Been listening to oral arguments before the Supreme Court as it takes up two cases stemming from the controversial Texas abortion law. I want to bring back Neil Katyal, Barbara McQuade, Tali Farhadian, Weinstein, and Joshua Prager. And Barbara, let me just start with you. What is it that you have gleaned from this hour, 15 minutes that we've had this extraordinary opportunity to listen in on this case?
Well, the thing that seems most significant to me, in fact, if not extraordinary, is the open skepticism, if not downright hostility, that we've seen expressed by Justices Kavanaugh and Barrett. And with those two votes, we could see a successful challenge to SB 8. It was Justice Kavanaugh who raised that hypothetical that Neil previewed earlier about if a state can do this with abortion rights, can't a state do the same with gun rights and other things? And the answer to that was about how we have to trust states to be faithful to the Constitution. Well, if Texas isn't faithful to the Constitution here, I don't see how we can expect that elsewhere. So I thought that was a pretty powerful moment in the argument.
Neil, over and over again, they kept talking about ex parte Young. Can you give us civilians an understanding of what exactly that is?
Yeah, so it's a 1908 case. Normally, you can't sue a state directly. You have to sue a state official, and all that comes from this 1908 case. Before 1908, you couldn't even sue state officials. So federal constitutional law had to be vindicated in state courts. But what that 1908 decision said is, no, you can sue a state official because, after all, sometimes state courts aren't going to be fully protective of federal constitutional rights. And so the whole debate, or a good chunk of the debate in the first hour and 15 minutes, was what does that Supreme Court decision mean? And here's where I think if you're Texas right now, you have to be incredibly worried. Justice Kavanaugh said the logic of what happened in 1908 was to vindicate enforcement of federal constitutional rights. And sure, it was an expansion of what happened before, but that's because of a deep-seated need. And Justice Breyer made a similar point, picking up on Justice Holmes. Taken together, those two things, and I agree with Barbara, Justice Barrett's skepticism here leads me to think right now the Texas law is in deep trouble on this vigilante provision. That doesn't mean it's struck down in terms of the abortion restrictions. It just means that you can enforce the federal constitutional right in a federal court and you can have them hear your case. So, you know, I think the court is looking right now, and obviously with a lot of caveats, but it's looking right now like the Supreme Court's going to strike down the vigilante provision. That doesn't mean that Texas will, you know, the Texas abortion law immediately goes away. It just means there's now a federal court that can hear the case.
And Tali, I mean, it was fascinating to hear Justice Sotomayor bring up 1789, how unusual this law that they're seeing is. And when you look at this historical context of it, I mean, if it's unusual to that degree, it seems difficult that they would go with it.
Indeed, I agree that Texas is really on its back foot. And I want to come back to Justice Kagan's first question, because I think it really tells you what a tenuous position Texas finds itself in as we pivot to the next argument, because Texas went on and on here to say that what the abortion provider did, suing the state judges and state clerks in federal court, was improper. And Justice Kagan said, well, then what does that mean for the next case? She asked about if they can't get relief here, can the petitioners get relief in the next case? And the next question is, well, if abortion providers can't bring a lawsuit, then what can the U.S. government do about it? And they have come in and said, well, then we will stand up for the vindication of these constitutional rights. And it's the first time that the United States has ever brought a lawsuit in an abortion case. And that's what we're about to hear next.
And Joshua, I mean, what hasn't been mentioned is Roe Wade. That's clearly something that the 1st of December, when the Supreme Court takes up the Mississippi case, is going to be a more direct link to it. But that's what this is all about.
Absolutely. You know, when you think back to Roe, 2 months before it was decided, Justice Blackmun, who wrote the majority opinion, he said it's going to be an unsettled period for a while. Well, 49 years later, we're obviously in more than an unsettled period. And how did we get here? You know, it depends who you ask. And the people who are opposed to Roe will say, hey, it's Roe itself that sort of has politicized the issue. And those who are on the other side will point out that was actually the Republicans had begun to politicize abortion pre-Roe. You had President Nixon about facing on the issue in 1970 so as to perhaps siphon off votes from the Democrat Catholics. And what is inarguable, though, is that Roe galvanized those who were opposed to it. And what we're seeing now with SB 8 is that this is just sort of the latest weapon in a 50-year pro-life war on Roe. There was politics and protest, technology in the sense that they used fetal photography to sort of humanize the unborn, crisis pregnancy centers, these thousands of outposts that try to often set up right next to abortion clinics so as to dissuade a woman from having an abortion, language, the rebranding, for example, of late-term abortions, one method anyway, as partial birth abortions, pseudoscience. We saw with the 2007 case of Gonzalez v. Carhart mentioning post-abortion syndrome, the idea that a woman who has an abortion will suffer from it psychologically, and now this. And you're exactly right. After 50 years, Roe is in genuine peril, and that's because of what is right around the pike with Dobbs.
Joshua Prager, Tali Farhadian Weinstein, Neil Katyal, Barbara McQuaid, thank you all for being with me this very unusual hour. It was so fascinating to be able to be a fly on the wall there and kind of listen in to this extraordinary discussion at the Supreme Court. That wraps up the hour for me. I'm Jose Diaz-Balart. Thank you for the privilege of your time. Yasmin Navsugian picks up with more news right after the break.